Hi, welcome to this part of my review featuring Unknown Armies Book 1, Play. If you haven't seen the other parts of this review, featuring this RPG where the player characters are fighting the status quo while trying to achieve their objectives through occult means, please check out the playlist in the description below. This time we are going to talk about relationships. But first I would like to talk about this channel's sponsor, Heroes and Hardships. This is a universal RPG system, allowing you to play any sort of campaign, scenario, genre. You can create any sort of character imaginable. You have hundreds of tools to accomplish that. I am going to put a few links in the description that will take you to the Kickstarter that is ongoing and it is in its stretch goals. You will also find links to the Discord, to the website, to the Tetsubo section of the website. Tetsubo is an upcoming setting inspired by Japan's Sengoku era. You are also going to find links to my reviews of the core rulebook in its early access version, the quick start guide, and the Wallace campaign setting, based on the life and exploits of William Wallace, so please check it out. Now let's continue. So relationships in this role-playing game are pretty important. They are the bonds, the connections between the characters based on love, on friendship. It could be anything. But what matters is that these connections, these relationships, will grant you advantages, but also perhaps disadvantages, because every time you connect with someone, you are exposing yourself, you are being vulnerable to a certain extent. So your character starts out with 2 of the 5 most important relationships in his or her life, statted out. Each begins equal to one of the upbeat abilities, but they don't remain in parity. The base ability may go up or down as your shock gauge changes, but the relationship only gets improved or diminished by interactions between the character and the person on the other end of the connection. You can roll relationships for one of 3 effects, and just like an ability, you can roll it as many times as it's relevant in a session. Also, like an ability, you can't make it the focus of your obsession. Let's talk about the 3 effects. First we have Coercion. This covers emotional blackmail and manipulation and the kind of bullying that doesn't leave physical scars, only the kind you can't see. The short version is, you make a threat against someone or something and roll. If your roll succeeds, you are threatening, and the target has to either cave in and do what you say or face some level of stress check. If you're attempting to strong-arm a person or organization and you have a relationship to them, you can roll your relationship score instead. This is not without cost, however. Every time you coerce someone using a relationship, that relationship's score drops by a small percentage. It doesn't matter if your roll succeeded or failed. If it hits 0, that person no longer respects you or wants to spend any time with you. The other effect is Substitution. If your relationship score to someone is higher than a relevant identity or ability, you can substitute the relationship and roll that instead. The relevant abilities are Connect, Lie, Notice, Status, and Struggle. So yes, it may be much easier for you to punch your grandmother than punch a stranger. Similarly, you're more likely to pick up on pallor and weight loss from a spouse than from someone you only see once a week. And your instincts for what riles up your dad are likely to be more accurate than when you try to needle a stranger. There is the, of course, my relationship effect. Here's the grab bag. If the relationship as established allows you to roll for something else and the game master says, yeah, okay, then warm up your dice. You are permitted to roll. This tends to see more use when you're related to an organization, but can be circumstantial with individuals as well. Relationships go both ways. They are notorious for it. In the same way you can affect people within a relationship, the people within that bond can also affect you. Now let's talk about the 5 most important connections. You have favorite. This is pretty self-explanatory. It's someone or something that you like, that is, it could be an organization or an individual. Then you have guru. This can be an organization or an individual that presents some guidelines as to how to proceed during a situation with a particular plan or endeavor. Next we have mentor. This is someone you admire. It could be an organization or an individual as well. This applies to all connections. But in the case of a mentor, this is someone you look up to, and perhaps you try to emulate his or her attitude, conduct, and demeanor. Then we have responsibility. This is someone or some group that relies or depends on you. You are constantly giving things to this responsibility connection or relationship. Then we have protege. This is the opposite of mentor. Someone looks up to you, someone admires you, and tries to follow your example. Now, logically, relationships fade away, sometimes. People change, situations change, people die. So the loss of this connection or relationship could require a stress check, specifically an isolation stress check. And this relationship leaves a gap to be filled. Perhaps with a new relationship, or an existing relationship that was not so important, but because of this recent loss, it has gone up the relationship ladder. And this concludes this part of the review. In the next part we are going to talk about identities. I think that the relationship system in this role-playing game is quite realistic. Whether your character is interacting with a large group of people or just one person, there is a relationship effect or a type of relationship that could apply to the situation. And of course, this means that you can benefit from the relationship, from a particular person, from an organization, or perhaps it could be the other way around. The organization or individual could require something from you. Thank you for watching this part of the review, and thank you for your likes and your comments. If you have any questions or comments, please let me know. And thank you so much to those of you that are going the extra mile to support the channel. If anyone else wishes to further support the channel, the information on how to do that will be in the description below. Once again, thank you, and see you later.